McQuestion for over 28 years, talking about things that matter with people who care. Production of McQuestion is made possible in part by individual viewers, supporters of the Foundation for Responsible Television, the Hatton W. Sumners Foundation, helping to educate the public about the fundamental principles of their democracy and thus be in a position to help formulate public policy. Moss Adams LLP, certified public accountants and consultants, providing industry-smart tax, assurance, and consulting solutions to help businesses and their owners succeed since 1913. The University of Texas at Dallas, creating the future.
Here in Texas, we usually brag about how good our economy is, how good job creation is, how good the culture is, and how good the what. Well, okay, forget about the weather. Okay, one thing is for sure though, people keep moving here. On this program, we'll examine just what the state of our state is. We'll look at unemployment, education, demographics, job creation, other economic and social indicators. Let's meet our experts. And first, by joining us via Skype from Austin is Vance Ginn. He's an economist in the Center for Fiscal Policy at the Texas Public Policy Foundation. It's a free market think tank focused on Texas issues. Vance, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Here in the studio, Cal Jillson is a professor of political science at SMU. He's the former chair of the John Tower Center there, and he's the author of 7 books, including Texas Politics, Governing the Lone Star State, and Lone Star Tarnished, a critical look at the Texas politics and public policy. Cal, welcome back to the program.
Thanks for having me.
And sitting next to you is a legend in Texas public policy, Ray Perriman. He's from Waco. We try not to hold that against him. He's president and CEO of the Perriman Group, an economic and financial analysis firm that's been studying the Texas economy for over 35 years. Ray, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Dennis. My pleasure.
So tell that person watching this program, what is the state of Texas?
Well, if you just take a snapshot of the moment and you kind of abstract away from the difficult weather situation that's been happening down on the coast, the Texas economy at this moment is doing pretty well. We've come back and started having consistent job growth again. Our oil and gas sector is making a modest comeback. It's not nowhere where it was a couple of years ago, but it's doing pretty well. Our technology industries are doing well. Our healthcare industry is doing well, and we're creating a lot of jobs. We have a young workforce. So if you take just a snapshot of today and not worry about tomorrow, we're doing pretty well. We have some challenges down the road, but we're doing pretty well right now.
Okay, good. I like the way you put that because we have been sort of the guiding light in the economy for, I guess, since the big crisis in 2008, 2009, haven't we?
Well, actually, if you look at the state, we had a minor setback during the oil downturn in 2014, 2015, and even into last year. But other than that, we have been by far the economic job engine of the country. And we've created more jobs, we've created more economic activity, we've had more corporate expansions. So again, if you take a look at those numbers and those indicators, our state has done very, very well and really has sort of set the tone for the entire economy.
Okay, good. Now, Vance, you look at Texas, obviously, from an economic standpoint as well. So give us some sense of your thought about where the Texas economy is and how you would agree with Ray or not, and whether you want to use any of these graphics that I have.
Sure. I think that Ray hit on some of the key issues here when you're looking at economic growth and economic expansion in Texas has really been America's job engine. If you would like to put up that slide there. If you look from December 2007, when the last national recession began, up through July of 2017, so we even have more recent data than this, it's about 25%. It's almost one out of every 4 jobs that have been created in Texas out of the whole country, in a state that has less than 10%, about 9% of the overall population. So it's been quite remarkable what we've seen here in Texas. And these haven't just been low-wage jobs. These have been mid-wage jobs and high-wage jobs. So we've seen more prosperity that's also happened in Texas. And it's not just overnight. I mean, this is happening over time. Even if you look at the unemployment rate, if you could throw up that slide as well, the unemployment rate has been at or below 5%, which some economists consider to be a full employment level of about 36, 37 months now. When you look through June of 2017, that's quite remarkable, and it's better than all the other comparable states if you look over a long period of time of economic prosperity.
Well, Vance, you have given us two excellent graphics there. And the one on the job growth, it was interesting that the whole country didn't even get to where we were until just a couple of 3 years ago. So that was interesting. And then the unemployment rate, you compared us to 2 or 3 different states, which that viewer could probably see, but give us what those states were. And then we're going to look at your first graphic that has to do with what you call institutions that matter. So tell us about those other states that you like to compare Texas to.
Well, we could compare Texas to a lot of states, but in order to make it a close comparison, an accurate comparison, I think you need to compare it with other states that are comparable. So the largest 4 states are California, Texas, Florida, and New York in terms of economic output and population. So I like to look at those and see how they compare. It's also interesting because you have highly different policies that are put in place. When you look at the more conservative fiscal policies in Texas and Florida compared to the more progressive or more government types over in California and New York, and what you find is that in California and New York, they've had less economic growth, they've had less job creation, and higher unemployment rates. Here recently, their unemployment rates have fallen more closely with what's going on in Texas and Florida, as the overall U.S. unemployment rate has also fallen, but that's taken quite some time. And you've also seen the labor force participation rates have declined there as well, whereas Texas didn't see the huge drop that some other states in the U.S. average did, especially when you look at the over from the December 2007 during the Great Recession and afterwards. Ray brought up a great point, though, about the 2014-15 period. Oil prices dropped from about $105 a barrel down to $27 a barrel. That's definitely going to hurt Texas. But we are not immune, but we are more resilient to oil prices compared to where we were back in the 1980s.
Okay, thank you. Let's put that graphic number 1 up there. I didn't want to put it up there while he was talking over it. I'm going to hit a couple of high points on it. Cal, then I'm going to get your thoughts. So if you look at that, you can see the overall situation with the United States on the Economic Freedom Index, by the way. And you can see Florida would be number 2 in the country, Texas number 3, California number 43, and New York number 47. The Small Business Tax Climate Index, Florida is 4, Texas is 14th, California is 48, and New York is 49. The state and tax burden, California is 6 in terms of the state burden. You don't want to be high on this one. New York is number 1, and Florida is 34. We're down at 46, which is where we'd like to be, I think, and we'll see what Cal has to say about that in a minute. But anyway, you can see that Texas stacks up pretty well in most of those categories there, and I'm not going to go through the rest of them. So, Cal, I mean, Vance and Ray are just saying, look, this is just great. So I'm sure you're 100% in agreement, aren't you?
Well, it's good but mixed is the way I would describe it. I try to take a longer historical view to see how we got to where we are today and also how we're stacking up for the future. And I sent a couple of graphics along. The first one is demographic change in Texas. And for most of the state's history, it was heavily Anglo state, 75% Anglo, with 2 smaller low-wage minority populations, Black and Hispanic. That began to change in 1970. We are at about even between Anglos and Hispanics, and over the course of the next 40 years or so, we're going to be at 53% Hispanic and about 27% Anglo by 2050. That's not a problem if Hispanics are as well educated and producing as much value and income as Anglos are, but they're not. If you look at that second graphic that I sent along, it is median family income by race and ethnicity, and it shows that census data 1959 and every decade forward to most recently 2015 shows no change in Black and Hispanic income, effectively no change.